Tomorrow, more clouds than sun and another mild tip of 73. Things change on Friday with some afternoon showers at a high of 65. The weekend brings clouds and 62 on Saturday and some rain with a mid-50s high for Sunday. I'm Brian Leonard with your on-point local weather. WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point. Ooh, I like when you press that one.
This is Sports Talk with Phil Kornblum, Chris Bergen, and Pat Daniel. Sports Talk is heard across the state on radio affiliates of the Sports Talk Media Network and is streaming live on sportstalksc.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil, Chris, and Pat with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
Welcome in, everybody. Sports Talk here on the Sports Talk Media Network. We come to you from Dave and Buster's here in Myrtle Beach. We continue our coverage of the Touchstone Energy Cooperatives Bowl Week here in Myrtle Beach. Looking forward to the big game on Saturday. Our airtime on the network will be at noon, and kickoff will be at 12:30. Was out watching practice today. First day of practice, 2 practices, 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon. Good-looking players out there. It's going to be really different styles for both of these offensive teams. The North is going to spread it out and throw it, and the South is loaded up with running backs. They've got 5 running backs that careers did something like, I was told, around 13,000 yards. So Justin Gentry, coach of the South, he's going to line it up with a big offensive line and those running backs and run it at the North. And Robin Bacon, the coach of the North, going to spread it out and throw it around and see what he can do with that, and hope that his defense up front can handle the running attack from the South. We'll hear from both head coaches tonight. Also, we'll hear from Dabo Swinney. The Orange Bowl today had their formal press conference introducing Clemson and Tennessee for their game. So comments from Dabo Swinney coming up as well. I'm at Dave & Buster's here in Myrtle Beach at Celebrity Square. It's a fantastic place. You may or may not know. If you've been here, you certainly know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, well, you need to get on out to the Dave & Buster's here in Myrtle Beach or in Columbia or in Greenville. Great place for food and fun and watching sports. I can't think of a better place to do all of that in one stop. It's fantastic, man. Bring the kids and you can cut them loose in the arcade. You can kick back and enjoy whatever game you're watching on television, have a terrific meal or appetizers or drink, whatever it is you want to enjoy. They got it all for you at Dave & Buster's, those 3 locations, Myrtle Beach, Columbia, and Greenville. So we've done a show from Greenville. We're doing a show here tonight from Myrtle Beach, and we will catch one in Columbia here before too long as well. And we have Pat Daniel back at our Dave & Buster's studios in Columbia, where he has nothing to eat, nothing to drink, and no arcades games to play. He's just there to take your phone calls and turn the dials and push the buttons and make sure everything works smoothly.
Just rub
and over in there you go.
So
over
sad.
in
That's so
Sardis, in the Great PD at the Berge Palace, Chris Bergen with us, back from his trip to Wofford, where the Terriers beat Coastal Carolina last night, and they denied Cliff Ellis that 900th win.
They did and played very well. And I was impressed with Wofford and Phil, some of the things we heard beforehand, before the ball game. I couldn't really report. They were sort of given to me, in confidence. But I saw some of the national pundits actually tweet out what was going on with Jay McCauley. And it does not appear that Jay McCauley is going to come back as head coach at Wofford. Evidently, he's got major issues with that basketball program and the team itself. There's a lot of things going on with that Wofford basketball team and him. They did not get along. It sounds like, especially after the Vanderbilt game, that was sort of the last straw. The players evidently went to the athletic department and said, look, it's either him or us. And so they made a change. They put him on administrative leave. But I can't imagine that Jay McCauley's coming back. And props to Dwight Perry. He's now won 2 ball games as the interim head coach. He won one back when Wofford was dealing with COVID, and I think Coach McCauley actually had to sit out a game, and he won that ball game. And last night he was able to guide his team back and pick up a win. I was awfully impressed with them, especially late in that ball game. They actually outscored Coastal down the stretch. I think it was 22-8 to put that ball game away in a contest that Coastal led throughout the entire first half and in portions of the second half, but just couldn't get it done. So round 1 of Coach Ellis trying to get his 900th victory did not go as well as he had hoped. Round 2 comes up on Saturday against Regents, and I feel pretty confident he will get his 900th career victory coming up on Saturday afternoon.
Actually, this would be round 3, wouldn't it? Because didn't he get 899? No. Yes. No. He got 899 at home, and then he was trying to get 899 at Winthrop and 900 at home. Is that correct?
That's no, actually, he got 899 at Winthrop. They were what I was hoping would, and I thought it'd be great. They lost to UNC Wilmington when he was sitting at 898. So the hope was that they would beat Wilmington. That would be 899, and then you would go to Winthrop and win that ball game. That would be 900. Or worst case scenario, you might be able to get it at Wofford. They lost to Wilmington, so he got 899 at Winthrop on Saturday. Did not win last night, and so he'll go try again on Saturday against Regent to try and pick up that 900th career victory and become just the 3rd active coach right now in college basketball with at least 900 wins, joining Jim Boeheim and Bob Huggins up at West Virginia.
Well, good luck to the cliffhanger against Regent on Saturday there at the HTC Center. We have got some breaking news according to Pat, and we'll go to that in just a moment. Our phone number, 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number here on Sports Talk tonight. We're going to hear from the head coaches here at the Touchstone Energy Cooperatives Bowl. We'll have that for you. Dabo Sweeney as well. And it's an SC Wild night tonight as Major Billy Downer will join us at 7:30 tonight. He's going to talk about waterfowl and an overview of the deer season as we've wrapped up the deer season. So waterfowl will be on his mind and deer season will be on his mind when he joins us at 7:30 for
no
SC
alligators?
Wild. Not alligators. I don't see alligators on the agenda. Though that's fine. That's fine. I'm happy to pass on the alligators anytime. All right, Pat, what you got?
Just a couple of pieces of news that I'm seeing come across the Twitter feed here, both being reported first by Bruce Feldman. First of all, one that involves directly the South Carolina Gamecocks, or at least their bowl game. Notre Dame star tight end Michael Mayer has entered the 2023 NFL Draft and will not play in the Gator Bowl against the Gamecocks. So Notre Dame now will be without their star tight end and their quarterback, who just entered the transfer portal earlier this week. And both of those players were very instrumental, along with the defense and special teams, in the beatdown of the Clemson Tigers last month. So that'll certainly impact that game. And then the other piece of news, Phil Longo has accepted a position at Wisconsin to become the Badgers' new offensive coordinator. That is, of course, the UNC Tar Heels offensive coordinator. He has helped develop Drake May into the superstar that he is. He previously has had a strong relationship with Luke Fickell, who, of course, was the previous Cincinnati coach, newly named Wisconsin head coach. Phil Longo had actually previously interviewed to become the Cincinnati offensive coach before coming to Chapel Hill. So he and Fickell have a relationship going back a number of years, but they're quite a shakeup up in Chapel Hill, and there already had been rumors of Drake May flirting with the transfer portal. Curious to see what this does with him.
Longo's an excellent offensive mind, and heading up to the Big Ten. Also seeing a report that Alabama safeties coach Charles Kelly is headed to Colorado to be the defensive coordinator at Colorado under their new head coach, Coach Prime. He's putting together a heck of a staff there at Colorado for sure. Charles Kelly has a great reputation. I think he was at Florida State for a while, and now he is headed from Alabama to Colorado. And
how do you think he's going to do, Phil? How do you think he is going to do? Is he all splash and actually no spice behind it, or at least no substance? Or do you actually think he's going to be able to generate a quality program in the Pac-12, which, quite frankly, is a winnable league if Colorado can get the players in that they need to compete with Southern Cal and Oregon?
Yeah. Well, he proved he could win at Jackson State. You're talking about Dion, of course. He proved he could win at Jackson State, and he did it quickly. You know, there was no 5-year build there. It was quick. He took advantage of his name, and he took advantage of his swagger, and he took advantage of his personality to attract some major talent. And I think he's going to do the same thing at Colorado. So he's going to surround himself with some really good coaches. He obviously knows the game himself.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, as a head coach, it's about motivation, organization, communication, and recruiting. And, yeah, whatever football knowledge you have, that's useful too. But you hire coaches to run your offense, defense, coach their positions, and you let them do their thing. I see no reason why he won't be successful. If they're going to put some money into the program, allow him to pay these coaches what it's going to require to get them to come there, I think he's going to be successful. I see no reason why he won't. And, I mean, in the Pac-12, especially if they lose UCLA and Southern Cal,
that's a good point.
Right now they stand to do.
Yeah.
It's going to be a weekend. It's going to be a weekend league too. So, a couple of other things to mention that I read today as I was scanning the various websites and stuff, and they caught my eye and they're worth commenting on. One was from the Big Spur, where Tony Morrell wrote that Marcus Satterfield was told after the Florida game that he would not be retained as the offensive coordinator at South Carolina. Now, his contract was coming to an end. So, according to this story, he was fired by Shane Beamer 2 games before the end of the regular season. I guess they let him, serve. If that is accurate information, we'll have to ask Beamer that at the next opportunity. But that's what he wrote, that he was informed that he would not be retained after the Florida game. And then from Tiger Illustrated, Paul Strelo, who, of course, knows Clemson recruiting inside and out, he wrote today the Tigers are not going to get probably their top running back target in this class, a kid named Christopher Johnson from down in Fort Lauderdale. And it's going to come down to Ole Miss and Miami. But the only reason I bring this up, besides the fact that they're not getting him, the reason I'm citing Paul and citing this report is, again, he's writing that Clemson basically got outbid on the NIL front. And this has become, pretty much the consistent reasoning behind Clemson not getting these players, according to Paul Strelo, the stories that he writes, that when they're not getting these players, it's because of the NIL deal. And so, again, what's Clemson going to do about that? Are they going to continue to lose players for NIL reasons? Or, again, is this just carrying the water in CYA for not getting a player?
Well, that's my question to you. If Paul Strelo is reporting this, is it sour grapes and the fact that the kid just didn't want to go to Clemson? And here's the easiest excuse. Well, he didn't want to go because Clemson didn't pay the NIL money that he was asking for, as opposed to they got out-recruited by 2 other schools.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm just throwing it out there. It's either, CYA or it's the reason. And, I mean, and I've brought this up before. I mean, what is Clemson doing getting beat repeatedly on players over NIL? How long are they going to let that continue? Or do they plan to do anything about it? Do they plan to be forward-thinking, more forward-thinking than they already are, more aggressive in that area to prevent that from happening? Because you keep losing enough of those players, and then all of a sudden you're not a great program anymore. You slide. You're not going to make the playoffs. Well, everybody's going to make the playoffs eventually.
Exactly.
But under the current format, you're not. And maybe when it expands to 12, you will. Maybe you won't, but you won't go very far. And is that just a lame excuse for not getting the players, or are they truly being outbid, as he writes? So a couple of things there that I read to question. And when we get a chance to talk to Shane Beamer next time, and we'll ask him if he fired his offensive coordinator prior to the end of the regular season. I don't know. Shane Beamer and Marcus Satterfield seem to have a very strong relationship, and Beamer seemed to always go out of his way to deflect direct criticism towards Satterfield and the running of the offense. I mean, if that is the case, then so be it. As it turned out, he landed a job quickly as soon as the season was over with his good friend going out there to Nebraska. So it all worked out. But
now
I'd be interested to know from Beamer's standpoint if that's actually the truth, that he actually told Satterfield, I'm not bringing you back. If he will admit to that or just dismiss it and say, no, I never said that. We'll have to wait till next week and ask him that question.
Who called the plays? Who called the plays those last two games? That brings that question back into play. I know that's something more fans have been asking, but if part of our job is to be the mouthpiece for fans, I think that's a question worth asking.
And also, did they just get lucky that, Matt Rule ended up getting the Nebraska job so he could bring his good friend Marcus Satterfield over? I find there are too many coincidences in there for that to be the case, that they fired him before the season. And lo and behold, he just actually got a job and a good one. So everything works out and nobody has to look like the bad guy. I'd really love to hear Beamer's explanation if that is actually true as to whether or not they fired him after the Florida game and said, you know what, we're going to pull back the reins a little bit on the offense and make it much more simple. And then they go out and dominate Tennessee and beat Clemson. And then lo and behold, he lands a job that perhaps he would have gotten anyway when Matt Rule ends up in Nebraska.
Yeah, that question will certainly be asked next time we get the opportunity. Okay, our phone number, 888-898-2525. That is the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number here on Sports Talk. And since 2002, more than $4.2 billion in lottery proceeds have been used to fund scholarships and grants for South Carolina students. Learn more about the South Carolina Education Lottery's impact at scheducationlottery.com/educationwins. And playing for fun is a win for education. We'll have our recruiting report for you as well tonight with an update on a couple of key players. And we'll take your phone calls here coming up in just a moment. If you want to join us, 888-898-2525 is the number. Going to hear from the two head coaches here at the Touchstone Energy Cooperatives Bowl and comments from Dabo Sweeney as well coming up. We'll be back after this break here on Sports Talk.
South Carolina's taste buds have spoken, and they're asking for beef. There are more than 7,800 farms raising cattle from pasture to plate in the Palmetto State. So whether it's steaks on the grill before the big game, sirloin medallions plated for date night, or burgers with a family, make sure beef is a part of your playbook this football season. Smoked, grilled, and slow roasted. Find the best way to enjoy your beef at sccattle.org. Beef, it's what's for dinner in South Carolina. Funded by the South Carolina Beef Council, part of the Beef Checkoff program.
When your day calls for some winning, why not watch your favorite football team at Dave & Buster's? We've got massive HD TVs and hundreds of the hottest new games. Sip from our chef-crafted cocktail menu with exclusive drinks such as the Strawberry Watermelon Margarita or Dangerous Waters. Cheer on the team with Cantina Nachos or wings featuring one of our 12 wings flavors. When your day calls for some winning, it's time for Dave & Buster's, where you can watch the games and play the games. Locations in Greenville, Columbia, and Myrtle Beach.
Join the Trailblaze Challenge, the endurance hike program where big hearts come together for big steps to create hope for local Wish families through Make-A-Wish, South Carolina. This spring, take part in a new journey on the Palmetto Trail. From sunrise on the highest peak in South Carolina to the coastal marshes of the Lowcountry, hikers of all levels can support critically ill children, enjoy and explore the outdoors, and build South Carolina pride and community through an all-inclusive hike experience. Visit sctrailblazechallenge.org to learn how to get started. That's sctrailblazechallenge.org.
Hey, this is Major Billy Downer with DNR, and coming up tonight at 7:30, another edition of SC Wild on the Sports Talk Radio Network.
Hi, I'm State Treasurer Curtis Loftus, and I've got a great gift idea that requires zero shopping, the gift of college savings. Future Scholar, South Carolina's 529 college savings plan makes it easy. Grandparents, friends, and family can all contribute to a Future Scholar account and know that they're providing a gift that will last a lifetime. If you're looking for the perfect gift this holiday season, look no further. Learn more about the smart, easy way to save and give this holiday season at futurescholar.com.
You were always more than my mom. You were my role model, my best friend, and biggest supporter. You filled my days with unconditional love. And you also prepared for the day when you couldn't be here.
Nope,
Because of the woman you were back then, I'm able to be the woman I am now.
We don't have any, but I'll put them
Your
there
planning made
or I'll wait for you to
this
restart
moment
and then put them there.
possible.
Set your family up for life. Southern Farm Bureau Life Insurance. Your friends for life.
Life insurance isn't for you. It's for those you love the most. For a complete insurance review, call Buddy Bridges in Lawrence County at 864-923-2174, serving Lawrence, Clinton, and the shores of Lake Greenwood.
Southern Farm Bureau Life Insurance Company, Jackson, Mississippi. Not licensed to do business in all 50 states.
Big day if you're a New York Yankee fan. Oh, what's 9 years and what, $370-something million among friends?
Yeah, and to finish, second or third in the American League? That's not a problem.
Yeah, that's true. We couldn't win it when he was paid previously. And hopefully we can win it with his he's going to be the new captain of the Yankees too, you know. We're talking about Aaron Judge. All rise. Aaron Judge. And signing or agreeing to maybe signing that new contract with the Yankees. Did I not tell you? I think this came up in the summer. I mean, I hate to have to go back and prove myself right again. I'm getting kind of tired of doing that. But did I not say back in the summer the Yankees would sign Aaron Judge? Not to worry. Everybody was like, oh, Aaron Judge is going to leave and go to San Francisco, go back home, or go to Dodgers. No, he's
if he
not.
wanted to win, he would have. But if he wants to get paid, he did exactly what
he's going to win. He's going to win in New York. Everybody wins eventually with the Yankees. It's going to happen.
When's the last time the Yankees were in the World Series, Phil?
2009.
Not going to
do much long ago.
Aaron Judge was how old then?
He was 18.
139 batting average in the postseason this year was that had to be fun
Dynamite.
to watch.
Yeah, that was worth every penny he's getting now.
Which was more fun?
Aaron Judge is 31 years old.
Watching that or watching him break the home run record this season? Which was better?
For me, it was better watching him struggle in the postseason.
Everything he did. I mean, listen, he's a five-tool player. I mean, yeah, sometimes he struggles in the postseason, but look at the plays he makes in the field. Look at that strong arm. Look at the bases he steals. He might be the most complete player in the game today. Hits for average, hits for power. What are the five tools? Hits for average, hits for power, arm, steal a base, and fielding. Those are your five tools, right? I think he's got them all. I think he checks all the boxes. You know,
he's a terrific player. There's no argument there. He just his value to the Yankees, I mean, is not worth the contract he is getting in terms of guiding them to the World Series, which is what the Yankees pay him to do.
You don't stick your nose in our business, and
My
won't
team
stick
won the
our
World
nose in your
Series 2 years
business,
ago.
okay?
I got no problem with you guys. My team won the World Series.
But how far did you go this year? Huh? How far did you make it this year?
About as far as the Yankees did.
You just lost your closer to the Red Sox. I mean, come on.
May lose the shortstop, too.
See ya. Yeah, speaking of that today, the Braves reportedly turned down Dansby Swanson's counter offer to them of 6-year, $140 million is what he is seeking, $23 million a year. That's a lot of money, but that seems reasonable for a guy that finished 12th in MVP, second among shortstops, won a Gold Glove this past season. He was an all-star. He's only 28, hometown kid, former number 1 overall pick. This feels like Freddie Freeman 2.0 for Braves fans, at least to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. We should mention that there's a basketball game tonight involving Clemson. You know, they still play basketball. Actually, the Clemson basketball team is starting to open some eyes. Absolutely. They host Towson tonight. It'll be the Towson Tigers against the Clemson Tigers. And Clemson coming off a couple of really nice wins and a chance to build a good early season record. That second half against Wake Forest, highly impressive. The Tigers are 7-2, but Towson comes in at 8-1 on All right, so they, at least based on their record, they're not slouches either. And Tigers 1-0. This is a 9 o'clock tip-off, Chris. Can you get up there for it and give us some coverage? 9 o'clock tip, only because it's on the ACC Regional Network.
And I was telling somebody last night that there should not be a game that starts later than 7 o'clock local time in terms of basketball.
I think that
there's
was me
no reason. I mean, there's no reason for them to tip off at 9 o'clock tonight. If this were Clemson and North Carolina on ESPN, big, huge matchup, I get it. This is a non-conference game against a pretty good Towson team, but nonetheless, should not tip off at 9 o'clock.
I agree. But, I mean, it's got to be for TV reasons only. There won't be a bunch of fans there, I don't think. We'll hit the break. We'll come back in just a moment here on Sports Talk.
Point weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. Cloudy tonight, but not too chilly with a low of 59. Tomorrow, more clouds than sun and another mild tip of 73. Things change on Friday with some afternoon showers and a high of 65. The weekend brings clouds and 62 on Saturday and some rain with a mid-50s high for Sunday. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather.
You've seen the news. You've talked to your friends. You may have even looked around yourself. Home prices are nuts. Seems like no one is offering any kind of discount except Lexington Discount Homes. Discount is their middle name. Quality homes that fit your budget with the size, model, and floor plan that your family needs. You can still afford your dream home at Lexington Discount Homes. Augusta Highway near Ballpark Road, 803-951-1900 or LexingtonDiscountHomes.com.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting the New York Times is bracing for a 24-hour walkout by hundreds of journalists and other employees. It would be the first strike of its kind at the newspaper in more than 40 years. Newsroom employees and other members of the News Guild of New York say they are fed up with bargaining that has dragged on since their last contract expired in March of 2021. The union announced last week that more than 1,100 employees would stage a 24-hour work stoppage starting at 12:01 a.m. Thursday. A handful of centenarian survivors of the attack on Pearl Harbor joined about 2,500 members of the public at the scene of the Japanese bombing of Pearl Harbor on Wednesday to commemorate those who perished 81 years ago. On Wall Street, the Dow by a point, the Nasdaq dropped 56. More details at srnnews.com.
For open enrollment, it can be a confusing, frustrating time, but it doesn't have to be. You're seeing celebs doing TV ads, billboards everywhere. You're inundated. At Medicare Blueprint, they help with Mom's Medicare plan. I called them, gave them the basics on Mom and her meds. They did everything else. Tim and his team do this full-time, year-round. If you call them, they talk to you. They take you through the whole process. Nothing outsourced. They do the work. A local number, a local guy. Medicare Blueprint doesn't work for the insurance companies. They work for you. Tim knows this industry. He's been advocating for people like us for a long time. Go to his website, MedicareBlueprint.com. Look at the testimonials from people all over the Midlands. If he can help you, he will. If he can't help you today and thinks you're already in a better plan than he can find for you, he'll tell you because it's the right thing to do. Next time around, you'll remember his honesty. You'll call him when you need his help again. MedicareBlueprint.com or give him a call. 803-708-7398. That's 708-7398 for Medicare Blueprint.
Hi, this is Marsha Klayman.
And I'm Karen Pickard. We're your hosts for the Positive Point on Aging.
We'll talk about aging gracefully and senior care every Tuesday morning from 8:30 to 9 o'clock a.m.
Join us right here on The Point for the Positive Point on Aging.
Brought to you by Oakley Village of Lexington.
Hi, this is Chris Neely from the South Carolina Public Charter School District. Join me Monday afternoons at 5:30 as I team up with Kev for Kids First. We'll tackle the issues facing our schools, pointing out the positives with our students and teachers. Kids First, Mondays at 5:30 on The Point.
Every animal deserves a home for the holidays. Instead of getting the kids video games, get them a new member of the family. Dogs and cats make great family additions. The Columbia Animal Shelter reminds you there are wonderful and loving dogs and cats available for immediate adoption. Visit petfinder.com to see these puppies and kitties. Adoptions are just $25 for the entire month of December. The kids will never be happier, and you'll give an animal a family family and a home. Online at petfinder.com. Happy holidays from the Columbia Animal Shelter.
Jingle bells, shotgun shells. Your Christmas should always start at Shooter's Choice. Hey, I know you're wanting that new gun for Christmas. Time to get shopping for it right now at Shooter's Choice on Sunset Boulevard in West Columbia. Are you looking for a Benelli, Browning, Henry, Glock, SIG, Springfield, or Ruger, or maybe some other popular brand? Let the experienced staff at Shooter's Choice help you make the right decision for your perfect holiday gift. If it's hunting or personal concealed carry, or just that new gun you've been waiting for, with Shooter's Choice holiday season promotions, they've got you covered. In stock, on the shelf, ready for you to check out. Not catalog pictures or internet photos. You have the real deal to hold and compare. And if you're not sure what you may need for that special someone, make it simple with a gift card. You can't go wrong with that. So do your shopping locally at Shooter's Choice on Sunset Boulevard in West Columbia, or shop online at shooterschoicesc.com. Make your first choice, your best choice. Make it Shooter's Choice.
All right, we're at Dave & Buster's here in Myrtle Beach, and the question is, why aren't you if you're not here? Now, a lot of folks are here, man. Folks have been streaming in throughout our time on the air, obviously listening to Sports Talk and saying, we got to get in Dave & Buster's, get something to eat and watch some sports and have something to drink and play some arcades. They got some great arcade games here, too. I'm kind of secondary. You don't have to see me. Just come on in. And, in fact, most people who walk in just sort of walk past me and ignore me, kind of like I'm like the look, what's that at the hotel? The
concierge.
Concierge. Yeah, the concierge. You know how you walk into a hotel, just ignore the concierge unless you need him for something. That's kind of how I am over here. But that's okay. I'm glad folks are coming in, enjoying themselves, having a big time here at the Dave & Buster's at Celebration Circle over here at the mall at the in downtown Myrtle Beach, Broadway, the big mall. Can't miss it. Dave & Buster's is a huge, huge building, and inside it's roomy, and it's amazing. You got so much going on, but you can still sit down and have a nice, quiet meal away from it all and enjoy yourself. So we invite you out here to the location in Myrtle Beach. And by the way, the manager here, Steve, he's the gentleman who's really big into giving back to the community. The Make-A-Wish Foundation is something he's heavily involved with. He's got some sports memorabilia by the entrance that you can look at and put a bid on, a silent auction type thing.
Very cool.
Some really neat stuff. So check that out as you come in as well. All right, Dabo Swinney coming up shortly. Let's see, Towson, the preseason favorite to win the CAA, so Clemson had better play some good basketball
This
tonight.
will not be a piece of cake tonight, because you look at how well the college has played thus far, and the college was picked fourth in the Colonial, and Towson's picked to win it. So this will be a challenge for sure. You may not know much about Towson, but they're a good basketball team.
All right, let's go to Tommy in Somerville. First call tonight here on Sports Talk. Tommy, welcome in. Good to have you with us.
Hey, guys. Hey, always listen to you, first-time caller. Hey, got a question here. I know I'd heard it. Somebody over there said it a second ago, but obviously if Satterfield was fired, I mean, obviously the offense had been struggling pretty much all year long. Got ruined by Florida, Missouri. It just, the typical predictable Carolina offense. Then all of a sudden, Tennessee game, Clemson game, I mean, it's like a whole different team. There's somebody else had a big hand in calling those plays. Now, as long as I've been alive and coaching and playing ball, there ain't nobody could tell me that there wasn't another hand in that play calling. And I'm like, y'all, I really like to know who it was. So that's pretty much why I'm calling. Also wanted to comment on Stogner leaving, these tight ends leaving. Bell looks like he's leaving. Why? I ain't quite figuring out why these guys are leaving, if it's because of the NIL money or there's something I'm missing. But I enjoy your show every night, and I'll be listening for your comments. Thanks, guys.
Well, thank you. We appreciate that. Well, first of all, keep in mind that Shane Beamer on the record has said, both after Clemson and Tennessee, I believe, that Marcus Satterfield called the plays.
Yes.
So, I mean, if you believe your coach, if you're a Gamecock fan, if you believe your coach, then that's the answer. Okay, now is he covering up? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Like to take him at his word, but that's what he said. That's why I'll be interested to ask him, or maybe somebody else will ask him. I don't have to ask him. Maybe somebody else will. If somebody doesn't, I will. And that is, did you tell Marcus Satterfield that he was done after the Florida game? If that were the case, I mean, why would you keep him? The morale would have been lousy. You tell a guy he's fired. Usually you go ahead and let him pack up and leave, and you put somebody else in his place and let it go from there. But anyway, that's just what was written on the Gamecock website by one of their writers. And that's open for question. When you make that kind of statement, that's open for conjecture. It's open for question. So we'll find out. We'll ask and see what answer we get. As far as departures, there's all kind of factors. NIL, tampering, playing time, don't like it there, don't like your coach, don't like your position coach. There's all kind of things that come into play. The NIL stuff is certainly is possibly a part of it. I read something yesterday about Jaheim Bell. I'm trying to remember where I read it, but they said that part of the reason he left was South Carolina didn't put together a big enough NIL plan for him. He wasn't making enough from the NIL stuff that South Carolina does, which, I mean, I don't know how much you're supposed to make. How much are you supposed to make? What do you expect to make as a college player? You expect to make $1 million, $500,000? I mean, what's the asking price? What's the expectation? I mean, you're Jaheim Bell. I mean, you're a good player. You're not the number one pick in the draft.
Right.
Now, he's got a mother and an uncle who are very loud on social media, tooting his horn and reacting to everything that goes against him. But, I mean, what is right when it comes to something like that?
And, Phil, he's a great example of this point I'm about to bring up. Are we going to get to a point where NIL is set up where quarterbacks make X, Y, Z money, and then tailbacks make, Y, Z, A money, and then the wide receivers make a certain salary, and for lack of a better term, I don't know any other way to phrase this, but a salary. And is there going to be sort of a structure where each position, and then if you're somebody like Jaheim Bell, and you're not making as much because you're labeled as a tight end, are you upset because, hey, I ran the ball more than I caught the ball? I should be labeled a running back, so therefore I should get running back money. I mean, where is this going? If that's the problem, if that is indeed the biggest problem with NIL, are you upset because you didn't get the same amount of opportunities that Spencer Rattler did, and maybe to carry on Joyner, to throw out a name, or Boogie Huntley? There are so many players on that team, but if we're going to get to a point on down the road where they slot people in, much like they do, in the NFL with the draft, you get slotted into a certain pay scale. Are we going to do that with the position players?
Well, guys, to help answer your question here, sorry, Phil, real fast. If On3 and their NIL valuations have any say in it, they have already put together a database with this. And I'm looking here, they have it by school. University of South Carolina, and this is across all sports. Jaheim Bell is listed as the number 11th highest rated person in terms of value at $77,000 estimated per year. That is what they assume he could make upwards of per year he's in college. And it looks like the way they computed that was a mixture of his total followers across all social media platforms, which is roughly 42,000 people. And then they are able to compute that to roughly $620 per post. Now, how that's coming to be, where exactly that money is coming from, I don't have all those answers. But to answer your question, there is already a site compiling that together, and they are estimating his value at $77,000.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Take that for what it is.
I don't know how you come up with that, but so be it. That's what it is. That's what it is. Okay. Thank you. I think we answered all the questions there. So, yeah, there's any number of reasons why a guy decides to, or a gal decides to up and leave and transfer somewhere else. And thank you for your phone call. Call us again. Let's go to we can go to our next caller, which is Stephen in Columbia. Stephen, welcome into Sports Talk. Good to have you with us.
Hey, Phil.
Yes, sir.
I didn't want you to fret over Clemson's running back recruiting. I don't want you to.
I couldn't sleep
get
last
too
night. I
concerned.
was tossing and turning.
I know. Well, the NIL thing is, I mean, we're living in the twilight zone. This is just so wild, wild west idiocy. But you understand that running backs want to play. They want to play as soon as they hit campus, and they want to play a lot of snaps, and that's not going to happen with Shipley and with Maffa. But the recruiting hasn't been up to par with CJ Spiller, I don't think. But when you're behind those people, I don't think there's a whole lot of kids that want to come there. You've got teams like Miami that are shoveling out all kind of money. You've got teams like Texas A&M that spent more money than anybody on NIL. You see how that turned out for them. And Clemson's still in the top 10 in recruiting. So they're doing something right. They probably got the best defensive line in the nation. So I don't know if they need to buy these mercenaries. And next thing you know, somebody always has more money. So it might be a 1-year deal or a half a year deal, but you don't want to destroy your culture. So I'm happy with the way our recruiting is going.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, that's true. You don't want to destroy your culture. And you cannot, however, in today, if you don't adapt, okay, then your culture is not going to be worth spit. I mean, it's nice to have a nice culture, and it's nice to, be proper. But if you start missing out on the players in big numbers, like you missed out on your quarterback target for 24. He committed to Florida today. Was that an NIL deal too? Is that the reason Clemson didn't get him? Lagway from Willis, Texas, he committed to Florida. Did Florida put together a better NIL opportunity for him? I don't know. I don't know the story about that. I'm just seeing more and more top Clemson targets, and I'm talking about the primo targets that they used to nail, like the offensive lineman from Utah. Now, I know it was a stretch, but they brought him in, and they went hard after him, and he committed to Utah last night. Now, obviously, you got the local angle there and all that. I get that one, but those are the kind of ones Clemson used to normally get. Now I know they've got Peter Woods coming in from Alabama, and the lineman from Georgia, and all that coming in. Yeah, they got some good-looking guys there, and this class is fine. But it's the future you got to think about. It's 24, 25 now, where the NIL really, I don't think it manifested itself greatly in this recruiting class, the 23, because it's still relatively new. But I think now the 24 and 25 and beyond guys are well aware of what NIL is all about, and how, to play one school against another and use that from a recruiting standpoint. Even though they say you're not supposed to use it to recruit a player, it's being used to recruit everybody. And if you're not playing the game in the big way at the highest level with the big boys, you're going to get left behind, I think. It might take a little bit of time, but eventually it'll catch up with you. So, we'll see how Clemson reacts to all that.
And Phil, to our caller's point about players wanting to play, DJ Lagway, did he look at Clemson and see Christopher Zena sitting, basically coming in next season, is going to basically, unless the current setup is changes dramatically, and we don't see Klubnik play for the next 3 years as the starter, does he just not want to sit on the bench for a couple of seasons? I mean, does he look at Florida as a much better opportunity to go play now, as opposed to
Clemson? Florida's already got a stud quarterback commitment. They turned a big-time quarterback a few weeks ago. I'd have to go back and look him up, but they turned him away from Miami. They grabbed a quarterback away from Miami, I think, and he's everywhere you go at that level, you're going to find competition.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, if you're trying to run from competition, then who wants you to begin with? You know. All right. Thank you for the phone call.
Phil, you were thinking
888-898-2525 is the number.
Sorry, real quick, just to tell you, were thinking of Jaden Rashada, by the way. I think at least, but he's out of California for Florida. That's their biggest commit right now coming in. But keep in mind, Florida just
wasn't
lost
he
two
committed to
quarterbacks.
Miami? Wasn't he committed to Miami? Rashada?
Let's see here. Yes, he was. You are correct. That's exactly right.
Thank you very much.
Go for you.
Thank you very much.
But keep in mind, they just lost their. Not only did Richardson commit to declare for the NFL draft, but then their backup Kitna, of course, we don't even want to talk about what he was arrested and no longer a part of the university or the program. Behind that, they have 3 walk-ons. So depth at quarterback is not very strong at Florida at the moment.
Right. But, I mean, Clemson, you've got Klubnik for next year. And then coming in the 23 class, you got Vazina.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Lagway's in the 24 class. He still has another year of high school.
Right.
He's a 24 kid. So, I mean, I don't know. Anywhere you go, at that level, at the top level, you're going to find good quarterbacks there waiting for you, waiting ahead of you, I would think. I guess maybe he looked at the Florida situation and thought it better because there are fewer big-time quarterbacks in there right now. But Florida's not going to stop recruiting quarterbacks. They're going to continue to recruit high-level quarterbacks, as will Clemson. Okay, let's go to the break. And we'll come back with more. 888-898-2525. Still to come, we'll hear from Dabo Sweeney and our 2 coaches here in the Touchstone Energy Cooperatives Bowl. Our game is Saturday. The airtime is 12 o'clock. The kickoff will be 12:30. Weather should be okay. Should be like in the 60s. I don't think we're going to have a large amount of rain between now and then, so we should be good. We invite you to come down to the beach and take it in person. We'll be back after the break.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. I love sports, and I've helped people for over 30 years. Contact me at jim@jimcorbettattorney.com when the insurance company won't pay your claim or you have complicated issues. Some other business causes your business to lose money, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. When you lose a relative and find out you got cut out of a will or don't get what was promised. When you have serious injury, like from a wreck or mishap or on the job, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com.
In Columbia, South Carolina, game days are our specialty. Whether you're watching the game from inside the stadium or from the big screen at your favorite local spot, the energy remains the same. Craft the perfect fall Saturday in a city where there is plenty of action on and off the field. From tubing and kayaking to Soda City to rooftop restaurants and plenty of barbecue. We're ready when you are. Plan your weekend at experiencecolumbiasc.com.
Hi, this is Major Billy Downer with DNR, and coming up tonight at 7:30, another edition of SC Wild on the SportsTalk Radio Network.
Hope, life, and the Great Palmetto. What do these things have in common? Scholarship dollars. The SC Hope, the Life, and the Palmetto Fellow Scholarships are funded by the lottery players of this great state. And after 20 years, you've invested over $7 billion in education. $7 billion. Impressive. The South Carolina Education Lottery. When you play, we all win.
South Carolina's taste buds have spoken, and they're asking for beef. There are more than 7,800 farms raising cattle from pasture to plate in the Palmetto State. So whether it's steaks on the grill before the big game, sirloin medallions plated for date night, or burgers with a family, make sure beef is a part of your playbook this football season. Smoked, grilled, and slow roasted. Find the best way to enjoy your beef at scattle.org. Beef, it's what's for dinner in South Carolina. Funded by the South Carolina Beef Council, part of the Beef Checkoff Program.
Well, it's okay with everybody. We'll do recruiting here on Sports Talk. Then we'll get back to your phone calls and hear from those coaches coming up. Recruiting brought to you by Seawells, please get by and enjoy the daily luncheon buffet over at Seawells in Columbia, Rosewood Drive, across from the fairgrounds, right across from the Rocket. If you get lost, just meet your family at the Rocket. How many kids have been found at the Rocket over at the State Fairgrounds? Right across the street from the Rocket is Seawells. So that's how you can find. You find the Rocket, you can find Seawells. But you won't find a buffet at the Rocket. You have to go to Seawells to find the buffet for only $13. And, of course, it's the best in town. And for the very best in the catering world, that is Seawells at 803-771-7385, online at SeawellsCateringSC.com. Couple of updates on players. Running back Robert Henry of Jones College, Junior College in Mississippi, the winner of the inaugural Walter Jones Award, is the top player in all of junior college football this season. Long story short, he committed on Twitter to Jacksonville State yesterday, then took it down and decommitted to Jacksonville State. South Carolina's been heavily involved, and he talked to Montario Hardesty, and he told him, Hardesty did, don't go to Jacksonville. You're much bigger than that, Henry said. And he says, I let him know I messed up. He said, I know I'm a big-time player. I can play on the biggest level. He said, I want to be at South Carolina. That's what I told him. And hopefully that's going to work out. That's what he wants to do. Well, today, Hardesty met with him in person at the school, had an in-person visit with him. The two talked about visiting this weekend. He's waiting, as of late this afternoon, to hear back from Hardesty to see if he's going to come in this weekend. And if so, he'll probably go ahead and commit. He led junior college with 1,302 rushing yards and 18 touchdowns this season. He also caught 19 balls for 128 yards. Latest on South Florence quarterback Lenoris Sellers, who had a sensational state championship game and a sensational season. Syracuse and the USC staffs were present Saturday to watch him play. Of course, he's been committed to Syracuse, and that remains the case. He has communicated with South Carolina, he said, a good bit. They are still in communication. Shane Beamer FaceTimed him yesterday, telling him how he would fit with the offense, how he really wants him to stay home. He said that he's not sure about an in-home with South Carolina, but they do want him to take a visit. Nothing's been set up yet. Syracuse coach Dino Babers and some staff members were also in for the game, and they are coming in for an in-home visit with him on Saturday. That's going to be sandwiched between a trip to Myrtle Beach for the Mr. Football Award announcement and his departure for the Shrine Bowl in Spartanburg. The commitment to Syracuse remains in place at this point. He said, I still feel pretty strong about it. He said, but then again, you never know. Things can change. Stuff can happen. He finished this season with 2,948 passing yards and 45 touchdowns, and he rushed for 1,338 yards and 22 touchdowns. He had quite the year, and we'll see what happens with that as things play out. I mentioned that Clemson target 2024 quarterback DJ Lagway, Willis, Texas, committed to Florida today. And another Clemson target, 23, offensive tackle Spencer Fano of Provo, Utah, committed to Utah. USC and Clemson target, 2025 offensive tackle David Sanders of Charlotte, was offered by Alabama. And that is that on Sports Talk so far tonight in recruiting. Check it out on our website, sportstalksc.com, on Twitter at SportsTalkSC. All right. Let's get back to your phone calls before we hit the top of the hour. We go to a Gamecock Larry, who promises to be short. Gamecock Larry in Swansea. Gamecock Larry, how are you, sir?
Yes, sir. Let me get this, who called it, please. Let me put it to rest. I got my Gamecock research committee. I've been having working on this. And there's highway people in there. I mean, they know what they're doing. Well, I got the word today from the head of my committee, or head of the Gamecock committee, Dr. Macon, a real well-known doctor out there at the VA. He called me today and told me Satterfield did call the place. So that should put it all else. I know what Satterfield called the place, but Beamer had a mighty long talk with him before the game. So that should let them know Satterfield called the place.
Well, I am so happy that you settled that. Now, can you tell us who shot President Kennedy? Do you have that information handy? Can you settle that argument?
Lee Harvey Oswald, but it wasn't Oswald. Oswald pulled the trigger, but Timbuktu shot him.
Timbuktu. All right. Thank you. We'll be back.
By the way, before we do what's supposed to happen here, thank you for pushing the button. I thank you. Programming thanks you. America thanks you.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. The Supreme Court seems skeptical of making a broad ruling that would leave state legislatures virtually unchecked when making rules for elections for Congress and the presidency. Supreme Court reporter Jessica Gresco reports North Carolina Republicans argue a provision of the U.S. Constitution known as the Elections Clause gives state lawmakers virtually total control of congressional elections.
They say that the U.S. Constitution gives power over federal elections only to state legislatures and Congress. And that argument is called the independent state legislature theory.
Gresco reports the case is seen by many as the single most important case involving American democracy. A remembrance in Hawaii today for those killed at Pearl Harbor 81 years ago. Correspondent Julie Walker reports.
About 2,400 servicemen were killed in the Pearl Harbor bombing, nearly half on the USS Arizona alone. Survivor Lou Conter, who is 101 years old, recently told the AP he's not a hero.
Not us. We're not heroes. They call us heroes, but we're not. It's the ones that 2,403 men that died are the heroes, and we've got to honor them ahead of everybody else.
His doctor told him not to travel to Pearl Harbor, so Conter says he'll watch the ceremony on TV. The bombing by the Japanese launched the U.S. into World War II. I'm Julie Walker.
Russian President Vladimir Putin acknowledges that what he calls his special military operation in Ukraine is taking longer than expected. When asked Wednesday about how long the war is taking, he responded, quote, "Of course, it could be a lengthy process," unquote. On Wall Street, the Dow up by a point, the NASDAQ dropped 56. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Relief Factor, pain relief that's natural, pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
To you, my love, my heart I surrender just as soon as I deal with yonder fender bender. 'Cause my ice cream truck is the way I make cash. So I'll buy you a ring when I lose this dress rash.
Owning a small business isn't always as lovely as it sounds, but at least Progressive Commercials saves you money with personalized discounts. Get a quote in as little as 6 minutes at progressivecommercial.com.
I'm gonna make you so happy sometime next year, I hope.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Coverage and discounts not available for all vehicles or states. Policy terms and conditions apply.
Time magazine has named its 2022 Person of the Year.
Time's Person of the Year is
You see our strong army. We are step by step.
Ukraine's President Zelensky for proving, says Time, that courage can be as contagious as fear. When Russia invaded Ukraine on February 24th, Volodymyr Zelensky stayed in Kyiv, the capital. He didn't run, says Times editor-in-chief Edward Felsenthal. Volodymyr Zelensky was a comedian who turned politician. When the war broke out, he worked to rally Ukrainian resistance. Time magazine's Felsenthal says President Zelensky and the spirit of Ukraine are Time's 2022 Person of the Year. I'm Rita Foley.
Today, Martin Griffiths of the United Nations warned that the people of Ukraine were facing winter without access to heat, electricity, and water. News and analysis at townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. Cloudy tonight, but not too chilly with a low of 59. Tomorrow, more clouds than sun and another mild tip of 73. Things change on Friday with some afternoon showers at a high of 65. The weekend brings clouds and 62 on Saturday and some rain with a mid-50s high for Sunday. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point. Ooh, you shouldn't have pressed that button. Oh. Now you get this.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil, Chris, and Pat with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
All right, having a blast here at Dave & Buster's in Myrtle Beach. Get on down and enjoy Dave & Buster's here or in Greenville or in Columbia. You will not be disappointed, and invite you to come in and visit any of those three locations across the state of South Carolina. We continue our time here in Myrtle Beach leading up to the Touchstone Energy Cooperatives Bowl Saturday, high noon on our network, 12:30 is the kickoff. And don't forget at halftime, the announcement of Mr. Football of South Carolina, the only place that you can hear it live in time, right as it's happening.
I can tell you who it's going to be right now.
Right then and there.
Is this really going to be a surprise? If Lenore Sellers doesn't win this by a landslide, it's one of the great travesties of the history of the award.
And you're from Florence, so that's why I think Jarvis Green's got a good argument. I mean, there's others who have.
There's nobody who's
good arguments.
Had a better season and greater impact on his football team than Lenore Sellers. You take him off of South Florence's team, they may not make the playoffs, much less win the state. I mean, that's how big a deal he is. There's no question he's the best player in the state, and it's not even close.
Yeah. I will not argue with that. He had a great year, and I would not be surprised if he wins it. True. Okay, today down in Fort Lauderdale, or were they in Miami? Down in South Florida, the Orange Bowl had the two head coaches on hand to talk about the matchup of Clemson and Tennessee. Here is a little bit from Clemson coach Dabo Swinney down there in Florida. Probably made some recruiting stops while he was making the trip over there to wherever they were holding this. Here is some Dabo Swinney from this press conference, obviously talking about the matchup with Tennessee, maybe a little bit about where his team is at this stage in exams and getting ready to start practice this weekend. Dabo Swinney.
It's going to be a great trip, and, the game will be an awesome game. I mean, this is, Tennessee, both programs really, I mean, to me, this is a playoff game. And in a couple of years, it would be a playoff game. So both of these teams have been in the, in the mix for the playoff all year, and both, have had great years. But what Josh has done at Tennessee is incredible. I mean, I grew up watching Tennessee. He's made Tennessee again. And so, it's good and bad, because that they're really, really talented. They've got a great scheme. He's got a great staff, and got a lot of respect for everything that they do. And a lot of great memories here at the bowl game. My first one was in '99. I remember it was turning Y2K, and my wife was pregnant with my middle son, who's now 23 next month. So it was turning, and remember the whole world was supposed to end, I think. And, everything was going to shut down. There was you better go get some cash. And those of you over 50, you can remember that. And I just remember we were at whatever hotel we were in, and we were playing Michigan. And I remember just standing there as the clock was ticking midnight. And I'm like, well, babe, this is it. It's about to happen. And it's kind of like, when Chevy Chase went to the Grand Canyon, he's like, yeah, Rusty, that's the Grand Canyon. All right, let's go. And nothing happened. And I was like, all right, let's go to bed. But that was an amazing game. That was Tom Brady's last game. And we came out on the short end of that. We missed an extra point in overtime, but he took them down the field with about a minute and a half to tie the game, if you can believe that or not. That's one of my notables of life, as I was coaching against Tom Brady in his last college game, and I didn't even know who he was, really, other than he was their quarterback. But a lot of great memories, good and bad, on the field, but nobody does it better than the Orange Bowl, and we're just thankful to have the opportunity. Our team has worked hard to get here, as has Tennessee, and sure to be a great week and a great competition.
Both of you said when this was announced that you're going to be in the Orange Bowl that this was important to our program. You're not in the playoffs, so why is this game, the Orange Bowl, important to both of your programs? Either coach can start, please.
Well, I mean, I think postseason's always important. Only 4 teams get to go to the playoff. There's 131, I think, Division I teams. So, this is an opportunity to compete at the highest level. I mean, this is the Orange Bowl. This is one of the greatest traditional bowls in all of college football. And so to have an opportunity to finish your season, to compete at the highest level, for your seniors to be able to showcase themselves one more time against a great opponent, for your young players to have an opportunity to experience this stage, it's special. So, it's the tradition of college football, to be a part of it. And, so it's, you get a chance to play one more time, and it's what we do. We like to play. And so we got one more opportunity to play.
Dabo, your team comes in scoring just about 35 points a game. Josh, your team leads the nation in scoring. Can we expect a shootout to some degree?
If you're playing Tennessee, you better score. So that's all I know. We don't score, we got no chance, because these guys, they not only score a lot of points, they score really fast. So it's unbelievable, really. And I haven't had a chance to really dive deeply into them, but I've watched them all year long. And, it's incredible. They do an amazing job, and they've scored on everybody. So I don't think it'll be a 6-3 game. So, all I know is 35 is probably not enough for the Tigers. So we better find a way to score some points.
Dabo, can you pull the curtain back? Was there a time when maybe you gave them too much leniency at a bowl game where they went out and you thought maybe I should have not been so lenient?
I learned a lot as a player. I was in a lot of bowl games as a player, and one of the things that I learned was from Coach Stallings. In 1990, we went out to Arizona, the Fiesta Bowl, and played Louisville. And we had no curfew. He had been in the pros for like 18 years, and I was a sophomore, and we had no curfew. And so, I just remember, the night before the game and some of the things, and I'm like, we're going to get killed. And they had this quarterback named Browning Nagel. And I think we made him a first rounder that day, but they destroyed us. And, and it was Coach's first bowl game. He had, like I said, hadn't been in college in a long time. And that all changed the next year. In fact, the next year we were right down here in Fort Lauderdale at the Blockbuster Bowl playing Colorado. And, it was a whole different deal. And so I had the two perspectives as a player. And then obviously, as a coach, I've been in a lot of them, both at Alabama and at Clemson. And, I think you have to have, you want to let them have some fun, and they need to enjoy the experience. I think that's very important. This is college, and that's you want them to enjoy this college experience and make great memories and all the things that come with it. But you also have to have some structure for them to help them all the way up till game day to get ready. So as Josh was saying, I mean, there's a lot that goes into these few weeks, a lot. They got finals next week. We're trying to practice. We're trying to recruit. We got signing day. So it's kind of a weird calendar this year. So you just have to be smart with them. And as he said, you want to work on the opponent. You want to work on going back to some basics of some things that you do. You want to develop your young guys. We'll have some what we call JV practice and, work some of those younger guys and take advantage of that. So there's a lot that goes into getting ready to play the game all the way up until you kick it off. And I think how you manage that is important. But as far as my own personal experience, I think the biggest regret that I may have just as a head coach was, maybe trying to do too much. I do think less is more in these type of games and this type of deal, especially you got a team that's played 13 games. And it always depends too. Some years your roster is younger or older. So you got to have a feel for that. But, this is an opportunity for both teams to grow our team, and you start over every year. And so it's an opportunity for a great finish, but also create momentum and value and experience going into the next season.
Okay, Dabo Sweeney, some of his comments, all of it up on the website, along with Josh Heupel, all of it up on the website, sportstalksc.com. As we go to break, come back and hear from the coaches here in Myrtle Beach. But Drake May has put out a tweet. He's put out a tweet.
Uh-oh.
And his tweet is, could never leave this place. I'm a Tar Heel. So he is not going anywhere, and we will be back. However, his teammate, cornerback Storm Duck, who's out of Boiling Springs, has entered the portal. And we're back in a moment.
Touchstone Energy cooperative members save more on electricity, and members save more on insurance, groceries, healthcare, restaurants, travel, concerts, and sporting events through Co-op Connections. Touchstone Energy is an alliance of the member-owned electric cooperatives, and as a member, the power is yours. Experience the power of co-op membership with Touchstone Energy and find out how much you can save on electricity and a whole lot more at touchstoneenergy.com.
When your day calls for some winning, why not watch your favorite football team at Dave & Buster's? We've got massive HD TVs and hundreds of the hottest new games. Sip from our chef-crafted cocktail menu with exclusive drinks such as the Strawberry Watermelon Margarita or Dangerous Waters. Cheer on the team with Cantina Nachos or wings featuring one of our 12 wing flavors. When your day calls for some winning, it's time for Dave & Buster's, where you can watch the games and play the games. Locations in Greenville, Columbia, and Myrtle Beach.
Hi, this is Major Billy Downer with DNR. And coming up tonight at 7:30, another edition of SC Wild on the Sports Talk Radio Network.
Show your team pride wherever you go with Founders Federal Credit Union's collegiate debit cards. Get your University of South Carolina and Clemson University debit cards at any Founders office or by calling 1-800-845-1614. Plus, our debit cards are digital wallet ready, so you can pay however you please. Not a member? Visit relaxjoinfounders.com or one of our 37 convenient locations to see if you qualify for membership. Terms and conditions apply. Founders Federal Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA.
Life. It has its ups and downs. Sometimes it's little things like hitting every red light or dropping your cell phone. Maybe it's the bills, rent, or pressure at work. But when it comes to the South Carolina Education Lottery, you should never feel like playing will solve everything. The lottery is a game. It's played for fun. So set a dollar amount. Expect not to win and make sure responsibilities, family, friends, and work come first. Visit playresponsiblysc.com.
We're with Major Billy Downer of DNR. Of course, hunting is very popular across the state of South Carolina. Major Downer, what things should our hunters be thinking about before they get out in the fields?
It seems like every other show we're talking about hunting safety of some sort. Whether it's turkey season or deer season, hunters always need to be aware of the target. Make sure before you pull that trigger that you know what you're looking at. Whether it's a turkey during turkey season or a deer during deer season, you know your identifying features of your game. You know what's beyond that target in case you miss.
Learn more about the great outdoors in South Carolina with Major Billy Downer on SC Wild here on the Sports Talk Media Network. Okay, we are back with you here on Sports Talk at Dave & Buster's in Myrtle Beach here for the Touchstone Energy Cooperatives Bowl on Saturday. Practice began today with 2 workouts for both teams. Let's hear from the head coaches. Let's start with Coach Robin Bacon of Spring Valley, now retired, but coaching the North. And here is what he had to say about what he saw from his team in the first 2 practices.
Really impressed with our kids. I think they did a great job coming in. We were able to go, I think as a staff, have a great plan, get playbooks to them as soon as possible. They're great listeners. I think the most impressive thing for me, Phil, not only are they great players, but they come from great programs and they want to learn, they ask questions. High character kids, we say, hey, you need to be here at 9 o'clock. They were there at 8:45. And that speaks volumes for what their parents, their schools, and what they've done. So I've been really impressed with their enthusiasm, the way they learn.
What are you trying to do on the offense?
I think offensively, we're trying to spread the ball out as much as we can. We feel really good about our 2 quarterbacks and our skill position guys. We've got some really talented backs. Obviously they've got 5 really good running backs over there. So we want to do whatever we can to keep them off the field. We're very balanced. I think we're 50-50 pass run. Obviously the defense has an advantage when you have 5 days of practice. So we try to simplify things as much as we can. We went to wristbands, which I thought was a great idea. We talked about that just to make it a little bit simpler. So there wasn't a lot of things. The one thing in all-star games, you'll have 5 practices, is there can be paralysis from overanalysis. So you want to make it simple. As coaches, sometimes, you want to make things complicated. I think the biggest thing for us, we just want to make it real simple for these guys.
Absolutely. Your 2 quarterbacks, break them down. What do you like about them?
Both very heady guys, come from great programs, very smart. They understand the offense. That was one of the things when we were looking for what we wanted to do, is we wanted guys that were in systems that, could move the ball around. They're big, tall, smart, athletic guys. They've done everything we've asked for them in 2 days. They're I'll be honest with you, we're ahead of the game, I consider, in 2 days. Now, we'll see what happens Saturday, but right now, after 2 days, I'm really impressed with what we've done.
Are you able to do much physical contact in this short week?
It's kind of a double-edged sword. You want them to bang because you only get 5 days, but for some of these guys, they've been off for 3 or 4 weeks. Some of these kids didn't make the playoffs, so you got to be careful. We want to just kind of slowly walk them in. We banged a little bit more this afternoon than we did this afternoon than we did this morning, just to kind of get them in there. But you got to be careful. You only got 44 guys. You lose 1 or 2 here, guys off the offensive, defensive line, and things change real quickly. But we'll probably pick it up a little bit more tomorrow. Thursday, but then we'll kind of back off on Friday.
Have you got a feeling about what to expect from your counterparts?
Well, Justin and I are best friends, so I got an idea what he wants to run or whatever. No offense when you got 5 running backs, and I think between the 5 of them, they got something like 13 or 14,000 yards, and God knows how many touchdowns. I think they're going to try to run the ball. So, that was kind of, when we were picking the teams, and I started kind of having an idea who they were going to play, we kind of devised our defense of what we want to do. But we're going to have to stop the ball. I think they're going to try to line the ball up and run the ball, and we've got to be very aggressive. I think offensively, I think our skill guys, I've been really impressed with our skill guys in 2 days of practice. So it's going to be interesting, but I think they're going to try to run the ball, and, we've got to be physical up front.
You look at your roster offensively, you got some really good running backs. That's going to be the plan, line up and run it?
Yeah, we're blessed in that department. Ian did a gotten, and it's astronomical. But we've got a great group back there. So they got an offensive line that's doing the work for them, and they're blessed with a lot of God-given abilities, and they've been fun to watch first 2 days practices.
Will the plan be to rotate those guys in, or do you want to find somebody gets that hot hand and ride him for a little bit?
We're trying to figure that out. We rotated a couple of them are really good on both sides of the ball. So we rotated some guys to the defensive side of the ball or to another offensive position, just so we can allow them plenty of reps these first 2 practices for us to evaluate them. We'll start making some of those calls tomorrow. Right now, it's still a little early. We're trying to figure that out, but what we've seen, we've been very impressed with. Unfortunately, with all of them. Fortunately and unfortunately.
Be a tough call. What about quarterback? Fill us in on your guys there, what you like about them, and what you hope to get out of them.
Zoltan and Tanner are everything we thought they were going to be. We fell in love with them actually face-to-face down at the Somerville Combine this past spring, and they've been everything we expected them to be. Zoltan's a little jet lag coming off of an official visit and playing last Saturday, and Tanner's got a little pep in his step, but that'll come. It's not a negative. It's just it is what it is. It's football. But both those guys have been tremendous. The guys are gathering around them per se. They're following in behind them, and so that's what you want back there at that position with both of them.
What'd you put together for your defense as far as where you see the strengths?
Our defensive line, our front seven, I mean, they're fast, a lot of speed. We didn't necessarily go with the big scrapping guys, as you can tell from seeing out here. We went with guys that are strong and fast, and that's what those 7 guys can do for us up front. Our secondary, I mean, Brandon Cisse is phenomenal back there, and he has put on the show the first 2 practices. So we look for big things out of him, but our secondary is pretty good, but they hadn't had to do much these first 2 practices because of what we got up front.
Yeah. Can't help but notice your kicker.
Oh, wow.
Punter and place kicker. Big time leg.
Yeah. And he kind of came on the scene a little late with us. Once Strombo, it was, kind of narrowing things down. And when they took the young man from St. James, we knew Jack was our guy. And, man, has he not disappointed. From a punting standpoint, I've never seen anything like it. And that's what he's going to be. He's going to be a big-time punter one day. So he's going to be able to flip the field for us.
Yeah. But you don't want to have to do too much of that.
No. I hope he doesn't play at all. As much as I like him.
Except for extra points.
That's right. From a punting standpoint, I hope he doesn't see the field. But but he's a fine young man, too. Great personality. He's been a joy to be around. If you can tell, all the guys love him. So,
yeah. Last thing, what's it like for you to be the head coach in this All-Star game, especially opposing a very close friend who, be coaching, I guess, maybe as a head coach his last game. Maybe he'll coach again somewhere down the road. Who knows? But right now he's calling it a career, and you get to send him out with an L.
That's my goal. Love him to death. He's a good friend of mine. I'd love to hire him too. I'd love to sit down and talk after all this, but the 75th anniversary of this game, and this has always been. I've been very active with the Coaches Association, the Football Coaches Association, and just to be able to be the head coach in this game is an unbelievable honor. It's been a goal of mine since I started in this profession, and what better way to go than with, Robin on the other side. So it's going to be a treat.
All right, there you go. The head coaches for the Touchstone Energy Cooperatives Bowl. Justin Gentry of the South, Robin Bacon from the North. Looking forward to seeing those two go head-to-head one more time, like they said. Very close friends coaching right there in the Columbia area.
Hard
Chris?
not to like those guys, Phil. Listening to them talk and the joy that they're having this week coaching this All-Star game. It's hard not to pull for both teams because they've got 2 really good coaches at the helm.
Well, let me tell you what's coming up for these kids, too. Tomorrow's a shopping spree at Target. They get $150 between the 2 of them to take a kid around Target and go shopping with them.
So cool.
And that's huge. But then on Friday, They've got the combine over at the stadium, and then they're going over to Top Golf, which is where we will be on Friday at Top Golf. A 3-hour buffet is going to be provided to them, and they all get to play golf there at Top Golf. Can you imagine that? They're going to have a blast. Okay, Chris, you're done, sir.
Yes, sir. Enjoyed it, guys. I will talk to you guys tomorrow.
Thank you. SC Wild with the Major. Billy Downer talking waterfowl and the end of deer season. That's coming up after the break.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. Cloudy tonight, but not too chilly with a low of 59. Tomorrow, more clouds than sun and another mild tip of 73. Things change on Friday with some afternoon showers at a high of 65. The weekend brings clouds and 62 on Saturday and some rain with a mid-50s high for Sunday. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather. Attention listeners, con artists have many tricks for stealing your money, but the AARP Fraud Watch Network is here to help you protect yourself and your family. We give you the tools you need to spot and avoid scams. So listen for the AARP Fraud Watch Network alerts. Use our scam tracking map to see the latest scams and sign up for prevention tips and alerts from law enforcement. To learn how to outsmart con artists before they strike, visit aarp.org/fraudwatchnetwork.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting police are asking for help finding the occupant of a car that was seen near where 4 University of Idaho students were stabbed to death last month, saying that person could have critical information about the case. The Moscow Police Department issued a statement Wednesday afternoon asking for the public's help tracking down the person or persons inside a white Hyundai Elantra made between 2011 and 2013 that was near the off-campus home in the early morning hours of November 13th. The president of Peru was ousted by Congress and arrested on a charge of rebellion Wednesday after he sought to dissolve the legislative body and take unilateral control of the government, triggering a grave constitutional crisis. On Wall Street, the Dow by a point, the Nasdaq dropped 56, the S&P lower by 7. This is SRN News.
Are you looking for free checking and free savings? Dave Ramsey here, telling you to go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank that's so big they lose the ability to treat you like a human being. At Palmetto Citizens, you're not just a number, you're a member. Join today at any of their 14 locations or at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
Jingle bells, shotgun shells. Your Christmas should always start at Shooter's Choice. Hey, I know you're wanting that new gun for Christmas. Time to get shopping for it right now at Shooter's Choice on Sunset Boulevard in West Columbia. Are you looking for a Benelli, Browning, Henry, Glock, SIG, Springfield, or Ruger, maybe some other popular brand? Let the experienced staff at Shooter's Choice help you make the right decision for your perfect holiday gift. If it's hunting or personal concealed carry, or just that new gun you've been waiting for, with Shooter's Choice holiday season promotions, they've got you covered. In stock, on the shelf, ready for you to check out. Not catalog pictures or internet photos. You have the real deal to hold and compare. And if you're not sure what you may need for that special someone, make it simple with a gift card. You can't go wrong with that. So do your shopping locally at Shooter's Choice on Sunset Boulevard in West Columbia, or shop online at shooterschoicesc.com. Make your first choice, your best choice. Make it Shooter's Choice.
Have you fallen behind on your taxes and might be facing IRS penalties? Have wage garnishments, levies, or liens? Have unfiled tax returns? You want someone local and qualified. Don't fall for those national spots. Meet with me, Teresa, at Capital City Professional Services, and let me help you through your tax maze. I can help with all your tax resolution issues. There are options to get you back on track. Call Capital City Professional Services, 400-8683. That's 400-8683.
Hi, honey. How was your first day back at work?
Well, that slip and fall sure did cause me some pain and discomfort. And this swollen ankle is no fun. Thanks to True Pharmacy, the day wasn't a complete waste.
I'm so glad they were able to get you all set up with your ACE bandage wrap and even a set of crutches.
Yes, who knew you could rent your crutches from True Pharmacy?
And they even have wheelchairs to rent and sell. That's good information to know in case we ever need it for our parents as they get older.
I'm so glad we found True Pharmacy. True Pharmacy, 2 locations, West Columbia and Divine Street.
Hey, it's the Cigar Militia. We want to thank the Midlands for a wonderful first year. Thank you for helping us grow. We had no idea we had so many good friends out there. One thing I love about the cigar culture is we all have our favorite brands, but we're also willing to try new ones too. Come in and get your old standby or have one of our knowledgeable staff members walk you through the humidor to your new favorite. We're at 1410 Colonial Life Boulevard in the same plaza as the Melting Pot Restaurant.
Now on Sports Talk, it's SC Wild with Major Billy Downer of the Department of Natural Resources. Major Downer is here to take your questions about the great outdoors in South Carolina. Give him a call at 888-898-2525. It's SC Wild from DNR on the Sports Talk Radio Network.
Okay, welcome back into Sports Talk, everybody, here on the Sports Talk Media Network. From Dave and Buster's, just talking to a very happy couple that walking out of Dave and Buster's after having a terrific meal, listening to Sports Talk too. Appreciated that. So it is time to shift gears from all of that and welcome in once again for another edition of SC Wild from DNR here on Sports Talk. He is the Major Billy Downer. Been a few weeks since we last had the Major on with us, so I know he's got a lot to talk about with us tonight related to waterfowl in South Carolina, the end of deer season, and who knows what else. Major, good evening. How are you, sir?
Great to hear your voice tonight. You made it through Thanksgiving, I hear.
It is great to have you with us as well. Where are you tonight?
I am on the road right now, so we're mobile tonight. You're out on the road, and I'm on the road.
Yeah, I didn't know if maybe you were out in a field somewhere doing something or traveling somewhere.
No, not tonight. Traveling home from work. We're just doing it live on the road. Tonight, just a little wrap up. We are at 25 days to go in deer season, for those that may be counting that. Once again, in South Carolina, it's 70 degrees and foggy. Gone is the cold weather, waiting on some cold weather again. It's just South Carolina. Like we always say, if you don't like the weather today, just wait for tomorrow. It'll change. So
yes.
We're in that warm spell here. But interestingly enough, I'm hearing a lot of people talk about deer are moving. Bucks are being seen a lot more on camera, on game cameras. Don't really understand why, but it seems like right now it's a little activity being seen, potentially being taken also. And the late part of deer season, I've always said, don't count your deer season out, particularly in December, because a lot of folks quit hunting, pressure decreases, and when the pressure decreases, deer start showing back up sometimes. There's always that place that deer are going to go nocturnal with a lot of pressure, and they're going to stay nocturnal for the end of the year. But there are times when they'll come out and keep feeding, keep food plots planted, and you'll have some success here late in the season. Remember, my daughter's big buck was killed the day after Christmas. So there's still some nice deer that can be taken late in the season. But it is warm. It's hard to go out when you feel like you got to swat mosquitoes in December. But here we are again. Waterfowl season, our first season, or what we traditionally call the Thanksgiving season, has come and gone. We're in the break now, waiting on the second season. First season, South Carolina up and down. If you don't have some private impoundments, a lot of times the ducks are kind of sparse. We had some really good hunts on our public lands. You hear me always talk about our waterfowl management areas down the coast. Two that I would highlight tonight, the Cape, the Old Santee Gun Club, what we call the Cape Unit, and Bear Island, both had really good hunts in November, during that Thanksgiving break there. Cape was the number one hunt, I think, on our records. The number one, they had 4.5 ducks per man. Phil, you always love to know what a half duck looks like. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure that out. But
yes,
4.5 ducks a man. I think Bear Island's behind it with 3.5 or somewhere around there. Number one duck on as far as in the bag was Gabwall at the Cape, which is a good indicator for us. Gabwall is a larger duck, more in the mallard size range. They're not as big as a mallard, but they are a big duck. We include them in the big duck category. Quality duck, good meat, good table fare. So those led the way. Behind those at the Cape was blue-winged teal. On the coast, teal are always going to be in the top of the bag. And then behind that was shovelers, the old smiling mallard, as they call them, they were plentiful there as well. The Bear Islands, pretty much blue-wing and green-wing teal were your number one, number two there, with a few mottled ducks scattered in there, not many so far this year, but teal, a big deal on the coast, a lot of teal. Our ponds, inland, a lot of ringnecks, continue to be what everybody's trading, with the occasional mallard, mostly put out mallards. A lot of times these the mallards have basically been put out, but a lot of times right now, a lot of gabwall, a lot of teal was big in the bag. Of course, all across the state in backwater areas, wood ducks are going to top the bag for most folks. Just go to beaver ponds, you're going to have some good wood duck hunting. It just depends on if you got water or not. I was talking to our state climatologist today, in South Carolina is still considered to be in a moderate drought, which is hard to believe when you got water standing in the field, but not everywhere has that. So we're still low on river flows. Our river flows are down. So if river flows are down, you don't have backed up areas on rivers with flooded backwaters, which are the places that wood ducks favor. So if you've gotten enough rain or you have the ability to flood an area, you may have some wood ducks there. But for the most part, our river systems are typically kind of low right now, waiting on some rain. Typically late December, January, we'll get some rains in there. Things will fill up, and you'll see some activity on wood ducks pick up again. And, of course, all of our management areas will be open as we move through the year. The rest of the season opens up here on the 12th of December and through the end of January. So that's kind of our wrap-up of the first duck season. Deer season, that's kind of where we are as far as, movement, weather. Duck season follows the same thing. When it's hot, nobody really wants to duck hunt. Everybody wants it to be cold. It's wintertime. We want it to be cold. Typically, we see cold weather up north will push ducks down because severe wind, severe ice and snow will freeze areas that ducks like to feed in water areas, and they'll be pushed south. We haven't seen that this year yet. There have been some pushes, some ducks, ringnecks that are typically here this time of year moving through to Florida are here. So there is some ducks around, but not a lot of huge numbers from what I'm gathering so far.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of where we are on waterfowl and deer season. Phil, I know you got a question looming. You always do. What's on your mind?
Well, the waterfowl situation. So the hunters like to get out when it's cold. It's not there yet. So as a result, are you seeing the population of the ducks growing in the typical areas where they come in and land, but because they're not being taken, when the hunters do get out in number, there's going to be a huge supply for them to go after?
Well, that's a great question, Phil, but our numbers of the waterfowl that we take are not based on waterfowl raised in this state. They're based on our waterfowl that are raised in Prairie, Canada, and the prairie pothole regions of the United States, up in the Midwest, up in North Dakota, from the Dakotas, and into Canada and into the alluvial forest there. That's where our ducks, that's a duck factory. That's where Ducks Unlimited spends a lot of money trying to preserve that land up there. The really only ducks that we produce here in South Carolina are wood ducks. So pressure is a factor in waterfowl success. if there's less pressure sometimes, there may be more ducks around. As pressure increases, ducks spread out. But so there's a lot of factors in that. So that's a great question. And I know, and honestly, you wouldn't have known that, but waterfowl for us, again, are produced in the prairie potholes of Canada. And that's all based on rain. Do they have enough rain areas to nest? Is there enough cover to nest? And one of the huge factors in the last 15, 20 years that we've discovered is predators like skunks, raccoons, foxes, things that eat eggs. I know you probably didn't know skunks eat eggs, but they do. And those are animals that target waterfowl nests and can damage our population that we see in the future by destroying the nest. So, of course, if there's not an egg, it can hatch, and therefore there won't be a duck in the end of that process. The same way, similarly, water does help waterfowl nest better. It gives them areas to spread out. When there's less water, ducks concentrate. When ducks are concentrated, it's easier for predators to find them. And therefore they can have an effect on the amount of waterfowl produced from nesting and the nest success. So a lot of information in there. Wood ducks for us, again, they are our state duck. Hooded mergansers is also there, but the wood ducks are our big duck that we raise here. And I will mention this as a side note. In recent years, we have seen an increase in the black-bellied whistling duck in our state coming up from Florida that are actually nesting here. And I've done several shows. We'll bring back some of our waterfowl folks. I'd like to talk about model ducks again because that's a big interest place for people too, on the coast particularly. But the model duck is the duck that we brought here. We've talked about that before in the 80s. And we brought them up from Louisiana, Florida, mixed them around, and we brought them in here. And those ducks are now in about 20,000 as a local population, which is significantly more than we thought. So they have a positive effect on what you might see, an opportunity for waterfowl hunters on the coast. They are a coastal duck. Our wood duck is from the coast to the mountains to the sea. Our wood ducks are everywhere. So they're very popular, and for the most part are our number one duck in the bag because of their locality across the state. And their nest success is based on holes in wood and trees. So
while we're talking about this, and of course you've got the holiday season, the next holiday season coming up, not so sure that duck was eaten largely during the Thanksgiving season. That's the turkey time. But maybe in the upcoming holiday season, that might be a meal that folks want to enjoy. Give us one or two of your favorite recipes for preparing duck, and also what a newcomer to eating duck might look for the first time they eat. What should they expect the taste to be like?
So duck, like everything else, wild game has that quote-unquote gamey taste. So you're going to want to generally marinate that meat in something that will infuse into the meat and give you some really good flavor. Now, most duck is the breast is the main piece. So the breast is really the meat you're getting out of that duck. And depending on the type duck, wood ducks, mallards, you get a pretty good sized breast. Mallard a lot more than you do in a wood duck, and then teal. But each duck has kind of a consistency to their meat that's a little different. I will tell you that sometimes diving ducks are tough, but ringnecks are very, very juicy as far as the meat. It really will take up a marinade real well. But duck meat overall is really good for marinating. You're going to take that breast, and if it's a bigger breast, like a mallard breast, you're going to cut it in 3 slices, 3 equal pieces. And I like to cut the meat so that allows marinade to penetrate into the meat. So when you cut it in slices, it exposes some that meat, the sinew open to where the meat's directly touching that marinade and soaks it up. You can also take an injector, inject marinade in there. But my really simple, it's become one of my favorites, and most people that eat with me love this and they look forward to this. It's a simple teriyaki. Just the old teriyaki marinade, kikkoman, whatever. And soak that breast in kikkoman for 24 hours. Pull it out, wrap it in bacon, half piece of bacon per slice, stick a toothpick through it, put it on the grill, and you're going to grill that meat to medium rare, warm pink to red center. It's okay. If you've frozen that meat, you're killing most of the bubbles. Now you're going to cook it, but you want that center to be warm pink to red, just the center. Cooked on the outside. Not overdone. Because game, when you overcook it, it becomes leather. You don't want that. When you pull, right before you pull that meat off the grill, or as soon as you pull it off, you put it on a plate, you're going to take honey and squeeze a dab of honey across the top of each marinated piece of that bacon. And that honey is going to fall over that so you get that sweet and salty taste. It's a great combination, an easy marinade, easy to do, and it's absolutely great. Not a lot of honey, just a little squeeze, a little drop of honey on it, a little bit more than a drop, a little dab to cover that meat, and it just dries on there and creates, when it's warm, a really, really unique and really good flavor. So that's my favorite.
I think that you should bottle that and call it the Major's Marinade. Huh? Bottle that and sell it. The Major's Marinade.
Now, the marinade that I also like, another one is basically using a soy sauce base, but it's called Allegro Game Tame. You can find that made by Allegro. It's really a soy sauce base marinade, but again, a lot of salt in it. But you marinate the meat in that, or I like Cajun injectables. And the Cajun injector, the Creole butter is a great one. Take the Creole butter, take your needle and inject that in there. A little bit of a hot spice butter into that meat. Again, you wrap bacon and cook that. And you just eat it right off the grill. Wild game is always best served right off the grill. Don't put it up. Don't expect it to stay warm. As soon as it comes off is when you eat it. And that's when it's always best, is fresh off the grill. I don't know about you, Phil, but I love cooking a steak and having it right off the grill. It's the same thing. Same premise with wild meat.
Do you, now, as far as your fire is concerned, your grilling, do you use briquettes, or do you use wood, or do you use mesquite? What do you like to put in there to cook it on?
All right, sir, that's, it's your option. I've had it a number of ways. I typically cook on gas. Typically, my temperature is going to be about 350. It's going to be about, it depends on your grill and how fast your grill cooks. Everybody has to know their grill. Some grills, if they're small at 350, 10 and 10, you're done. 10 minutes, turn it over 10 minutes. If it's a bigger grill like mine, it's 20 and 20. It just depends on your grill. Again, you want to cook both sides, cook that bacon, but have it to a warm pink to red center on the duck. And take a slice in their check basket to let you know where you're at. My son loves a Traeger grill. Traeger's been the new fad in the last few years. Those wood, if it's not a Traeger, the wood pelletized grills. He loves that grill because of the slowness it cooks, and it holds a good temperature. It's really steady. And I will tell you, it makes a really, really good tasting duck. Particularly the hickory. I love their hickory flavored pellets, but truly you just pick your best flavor, whatever you want. And I do like the pellet grills. That's kind of a new thing out. Of course, then there's the big green egg, which is basically charcoal and its modern feature. Also works real well. But the main thing, again, is steady temperature around 350 and cooking to that warm red center. So that's the biggest ingredient. And eating it fresh. I mean, it's always best fresh. Now, everybody wants to talk about duck. What duck tastes better? Well, teal are probably one of the best tasting ducks. Not sure I could tell you why. They're just excellent table fare. Past that, most of the other duck species that we would name, Maori, gadwall, pintail, and your ringneck, canvasback, they all basically taste about the same. I've said it before on the show. It's funny to go back in history books and look. The canvasback was king, and that in New York in the 20s was like $12 a plate. Imagine how expensive that is in today's time.
Yeah.
$12 back in the 20s for a canvasback plate. So it was revered as a very good table fare. But I will tell you that most ducks, the big ducks, taste the same. Most people don't like a shoveler because they dabble in mud a lot. They don't like sometimes if you get into the divers, depending on what they're eating a lot of clams and mussels, their meat may not taste as good. And similarly, a hooded merganser, because it eats fish, is not that good a meat. So I don't shoot things I don't eat. That's just my practice. What I try to teach my kids: if we hunt something, we eat it. So we try to work real hard at finding ways to make the things that we hunt have a really good, good taste. And my kids' favorite meal, I've said before, is always deer loin, and right behind it, right in front of that, would be doves. They love grilled dove breast. They love that. So that's been our family favorite. We love duck as well. But I will tell you, the one that I've never conquered, as great as you make me out to be a cook, and I like to think I am, but I've never conquered goose. So I welcome anyone to call in on the show that has a great recipe for goose, because I've never figured one out.
You mean like,
that
how have you tried to cook a goose?
Really,
how have you tried to cook it?
Well, I've tried it every way I do my duck. Every marinade I've tried different slices. I've tried cooking it small. I've tried frying it. I've tried a number of things, and it just never tastes right. It just doesn't. And I've heard of people making jerky out of it. That just never really has tasted as good to me. So I look forward to hearing somebody give me a good goose recipe, because I have not ever found one. Now, that's Canada goose. There's different species of goose. The speckle-bellied goose, they call that flying ribeye, because it absolutely is a wonderful table fare as well. Don't ask me why it's different, but it is.
Let me ask you this. We never really talked about, I don't think that I can recall, we haven't talked a lot about goose hunting in South Carolina. Is that a hot topic along the lines of duck hunting?
So goose hunting in our state depends on where you are. Typically, our early seasons where we see a lot of interest in goose hunting, and we used to have a late season as well. But the early goose season, where the whole state's open, is really our in-state goose season, where we have an opportunity to control the quote-unquote golf course goose, because there is no predator on those things. And they lay eggs and have plenty more. I used to pick on Daryl Shipes. If he's listening, I used to pick on him all the time. Daryl, you brought geese to this state. He was part of the group that went to New York. They packed them up and brought them down here. It was a great idea until it wasn't. And now there's geese everywhere.
You mean we didn't have geese in South Carolina until somebody physically went and brought them?
We went and brought them here because it was a great idea. New York City, a great idea. Of course, they thought it was a great idea. We brought them here, and they became a resident goose season. And most states throughout the United States now have a resident goose season. And they're problematic in that your time to hunt them, a lot of times they settle in urban areas where you can't hunt geese, or on ponds with houses where you can't hunt geese. So it's hard, and people get real upset when you start trapping geese or killing geese that they like feeding. Because for everybody that doesn't like that goose, there's somebody. For every 10 people that hate that goose, there's one person over here that loves them on the lake and is going to feed them. So goose season is popular in its own regard, but a lot of times people want to hunt them because they don't like eating them. So We can talk about goose season. We'll talk about goose season and the end of duck season a little bit. We can talk about our in-state season, kind of get an update on that.
Yeah.
But
I'm afraid
that's our table
goose is
fare for
cooked.
tonight, Bill.
I love it. I love it. Our goose is cooked for tonight, Major. Thank you so much. You got me wanting to go get a slice of a duck burger somewhere after the show. We'll talk to you in a couple of weeks. Thank you, Pat. Everybody have a great night. See you tomorrow night.
Someone will be right with you.
The Point.
WQXL Columbia, W264DM.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.